Oh, so how did you even start playing the guitar? Let's go into a little personal history.
Oh, wow.
And stuff. Why are you here with this guitar?
Well, why am I here with this guitar?
I mean, not
love this
specifically.
guitar.
We went into that guitar already, but what got you? Was it the Beatles, like everybody else?
Kind of indirectly. I think I missed the first initial round of the Beatles. I might have seen
Me too. I was a little young,
them, but yeah,
for it.
they didn't really catch my ear. But when I was in the ninth grade, I don't know why. I think I had dabbled a little bit with guitar before that. I had bought I bought a guitar from a Five and Dime in Ravenna, Ohio, where I grew up.
Okay.
And it was $12. I saved up my money and bought that $12 guitar. I don't know why. I'd learned a few chords on it, and I thought it was kind of cool. And in ninth grade, I met two other guys who, different schools came together. I met two guys that I hadn't met before, and they were Beatle nuts. They were John and Paul. And
wow.
So they wanted to have a band, and somehow they were like, "Oh, we hear you have a guitar."
Yeah,
yeah.
That's all you need to be in our band.
$12 Woolworth guitar.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time dreaming about how we were going to get electric guitars and amps and things like that. And eventually, I'd say by 10th grade, we had pulled it together, and I bought a Sears Harmony guitar.
Oh yeah.
I spent a lot of time ogling the Sears catalog, comparing the different Harmony models, and so I had a Harmony guitar. And one of the guys had really was much more serious, and he had a Gretsch. He had a Country Gentleman.
Wow.
And
just like George, huh?
And a Fender Reverb. His uncle had a White Falcon, and he took lessons. In fact, he teaches at Dartmouth now. He's a quite serious classical guitarist. So he was very good, and that was one of my early benefits, was playing in a band with a guy who was much better than me.
Yeah.
So he was lead guitar player, and he'd say, "Here, strum these chords," and I'd play them. Well, he did all the lead stuff.
Yeah.
But we did all the Beatle tunes, and progressed into got more into Allman Brothers and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So I played all that, and then I went to college, played all through college, and played in the college jazz band, and branched out a little bit, did some classical stuff, did some jazz.
So you learned to read music somewhere along the line there?
Well, I played saxophone, and even I started playing regular instruments. In fact, I took piano lessons from my grandmother when I was really young. So I learned to read music, and I know a lot of people in guitar don't read music, but to me it was just like, well, it's an instrument, so of course I read music. Where are the notes on this thing? Just like on the piano and the saxophone.
Right.
That gets a little bit thrown for a loop when you go into alternate tunings. but it still helps to read music. So I did that. I studied jazz. I took lessons for a while from a guy named Nuff Ray in Akron, Ohio, who was he played guitar with a guy named Pat Pace, who was kind of a legend in Northeast Ohio. He was an early child prodigy who went to Juilliard and did jazz stuff. So the guy was pretty serious. So he got me hooked into the jazz society there, and I played in the jazz band. I attended a week-long workshop with Howard Roberts back then that was sort of the test drive for his whole GIT program.
Oh, wow.
And that was really intense. We did 10 hours a day for 6 days, music theory, nuts and bolts. It was basically like taking a whole college music theory class from a jazz perspective in a week. So, a lot of things like that sort of influenced me. When I got out of college, I was playing more than I was doing anything else by that time, so I just kept playing. I never got a job. I started playing in bands, and I did that for about 10 years, traveled around, playing rock bands, whatever they paid us to play.
Yeah.
It really didn't matter. It wasn't very musically exciting, actually. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we do some original stuff, but hey, whatever you want. You want disco, you want polka, you want whatever, if they'll pay us, we play it.
Yeah.
So that was really my background to that. And acoustic, at that time, I had a $50 no-name beater acoustic that I bought from Virgil Lay in Akron. He was buying up, it might have been a Yamaha or something, but he was buying up seconds from some Japanese company. They had no name on the headstock, he'd fix them up, and it cost me $60.
Okay.
And that was my only acoustic for most of my life. My son still has that guitar now.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, well, I wouldn't pay much money for just an acoustic. It's got to be a Les Paul or something.
Yeah, something with some serious value.
Yeah, and then later on, I just got tired of playing in bands. At some point, you grow up and don't want to play rock and roll anymore.
So what, acoustic players influenced you to like in that direction after Led Zeppelin, let's say?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was always, for example, even way back, even when I was doing rock stuff, I'd listen to John Renbourn and Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, David Crosby, all these people. So there was some alternate tuning stuff. I figured out a lot of Joni Mitchell, a lot of Crosby, Stills, Nash stuff back then. And I did some coffee houses with friends and stuff where we did that kind of stuff, James Taylor tunes and stuff. But after I got post playing rock bands, I moved out here and didn't know anybody anymore. So I started, for a while I didn't play. I took a break for a while. And then I started wanting to get back into it, and I just didn't want to go the band thing anymore. So it's like, well, what can I play by myself? And one day I was at Tower Records, and I heard this stuff on the jukebox or
whatever
speakers, whatever it was, and I went, what's that? If I could play like that, that would be fun, And it was the Narada fingerstyle collection CD that they came out with years ago. So had Don Ross, Lawrence Juber, Pat Kirtley, a lot of guys, that I've since gotten to know and spent a lot of time knowing their style and drawing from them and stuff. So I spent a lot of time with that CD.
Yeah.
Just saying, how can I play like that?
Yeah.
The first tune on that CD is Little Martha, Tim Farrell's arrangement.
Oh.
I just played a gig with Tim a few weeks ago. And it was a lot of fun. So it's kind of cool to connect up with these guys.
Yeah.
I can say, wow, you were partly responsible for getting me going on this kind of thing. And he still plays that.
Does he do that in Open D?
Open D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could run through that by just retuning one string right now.
Absolutely.
Huh?
The nice thing about Dad, it's only one string away from other tunes.
Yeah.
It's on. It's really easy, but it's a beautiful sounding piece, and fun to play.
Yeah, I've done a lesson on that. Very similar to that, kind of a hybrid of what Leo did with it too, which was he doesn't usually do very good arrangements with those kinds of things. I mean, some of those. Yezu's the one that bothers me more.
Oh, okay.
That's atrocious.
I'm not a huge fan of Leo's version of that song, although it's got its its own cool little different feel to it. But he's of course a big fan. I've read it where he calls that the most perfect instrumental ever written.
Oh,
so
that does sound familiar. That I remember him raving about it. It is cool, and the way they did it as a duet, it's two parts that are actually fairly simple, because they're rock and roll guitar players, but it does make itself. It just lends itself to a solo guitar version. Really well.
You can play it all and pretty much don't even miss Dickie's part.
Yeah, that's neat.